Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Again, welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take. How your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. 1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. A lot to celebrate today. I'm looking at some of these things, and there's some pretty interesting things. National Babe Ruth Day. I don't know about that one. I would just say
it is what it is.
Okay, and we've got National Gummy Bear Day. Doesn't fit my diet, or my new food plan, so we stay away from that one. Although I am looking at National Devil Dog Day. Now, that one intrigued me because I wasn't sure what a devil dog is, but it's a devilish snack cake. So it's a layer of cream-filled sandwich between two layers of devil's food cake. That one I can get behind, Josh. That one, I don't know. And I can tell where Josh's thinking is today because it's also National Prime Rib Day. So I don't know, a Monday and Prime Rib Day. Isn't that more of a weekender? I mean, if I went out for a big prime rib dinner right now or tonight, I'd probably want to sleep a little extra. I'd probably have a nice glass of wine to go with that, or two or three, maybe a martini. So I don't know. National Prime Rib Day is today. I'll stay away from that one. Let's see what the markets are doing today. We've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 92.5 points. The NASDAQ is down 49.5 points. The S&P 500 is down 4.5. Oil up $1.76 a barrel. Gold down $37 an ounce. 10-year Treasuries up 2.5 basis points. And the mortgage bond is down 10 basis points. Remember, bond down, rates up. We don't want to see them going that way, but it is what it is. And now we'll look at gasoline. So I did look. Gasoline is ugly right now, but it is to be what it is right now. I'm looking national average gallon of gasoline, $4.11. Here in the formerly Golden State, we're at $4.95 a gallon. $5.95 a gallon, not $4.95, $5.95 a gallon. Josh, you over $5 over there? No, just under, right around $5 a gallon. The average for the state is $5.03, but the rural areas generally get it a little bit more, have a bearing, and certainly Nevada has a lot of those rural areas where, I'm sure that if you're out, such as right there at State Line, I bet State Line is probably over $7 a gallon. Just my guess. I haven't been there in a while, but that's my guess. Here in, again, the formerly Golden State, $5.95 a gallon of gasoline. Ow! Yeah, that's a bit painful. Talking about painful. A lot of news over the weekend, not a whole lot of it good. I did see that Iran sends a message. I don't know if it's a message or a joke. So they sent a proposal to the U.S. to end the standoff over there. What does Iran want? They basically the standoff was to open up the Strait of Hormuz, not deal with anything that the U.S. has on the agenda, and they think that's going to get us anywhere. Well, Iran is hemorrhaging right now. They're losing $500 million a day in revenue because Iran doesn't have control of the strait. The U.S. Navy does. The U.S. Navy stopping all the ships going in and out of there. Yes, that is keeping gas prices higher. Now, I would say that it's an artificial high price. Yes, we're paying it, but being that other than California, most of the United States does not get their gasoline from the Middle East. We get our own. Now, California, because of all of our regulation, because of our governor, we get 30% of our gasoline, or most, I think it's more than 30, comes from Iraq. So we're having to pay those high prices because our gasoline comes from the Middle East. How safe is that? Not only from an economic standpoint, but California likes to always brag about the ecological arenas, and I know California, the legislature doesn't want gasoline in any form. They want us all to be on electric vehicles, even though our grid can't handle it. So think about that part of it, and that's why we've got our refineries are all closing. They don't want to do any drilling, although the president has started drilling by taking over control of that from the state. And the more the federal government under this administration takes over from the state, believe it or not, the better off the state will be. Why? Because this administration wants us to be independent. They don't want us to be counting on getting gasoline or oil or anything else coming from the Middle East, and we're not. We're a net exporter now, in spite of how much California is using. So think about all those issues. Can you imagine where our inflation rates would be if we didn't have to deal with the oil from overseas? Think about that concept. Now, Europe is having other problems. Europe's problems are because they are so dependent on the Middle East, and because they decided that they didn't want to be dealing with going and helping the U.S., well, they're about a month away from running out of jet fuel. So you might see a bunch of planes grounded in Europe unless they figure out a place to get jet fuel other than coming in from the Middle East. Now, I did listen to a report this weekend, and I'll share with you again. I share this all the time. If you want to get legitimate information as far as what's going on in the world, tune into Ron Siegel Radio. Why? Because we pay for the news that we get. We don't go to ABC and NBC and CBS or Fox News, all of them biased. We're paying news services that are giving us straight information that we can relay to you. We talk to people around that can give you solutions. Now, when you're talking about getting news information out there, no such thing as solutions. It's news. It's giving you the data so you can make your own decisions. When you tune into Ron Siegel Radio, we give you solutions. I've told you before, we talk to people that will help you with your home and finance. If you're a business owner, you want to listen to today's broadcast because we're going to be talking a lot about home financing solutions for business owners. But we've had our friend Chris Corrales on in the past talking about the massive amount of debt that's in our society. And Chris has actually been able to show people solutions to solve that debt in a relatively short period of time. If you haven't listened to that broadcast, go back a couple of weeks ago when Chris was on. You can search it on Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube where Chris was there. You can go to rsrloans.com. We've got the broadcast was on there as well, and get some solutions there. And we'll continue our conversations on those issues because you are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. Waiting for rates to drop is costing you money every month. We'll talk about why. Think you have to put 20% down? Most first-time home buyers don't. Self-employed, we've got solutions, 1099s that qualify you for a home. Going from a W-2 to a 1099. How does that work? How does that help you? And your tax write-offs are killing your loan approval. We'll talk about the fix, all that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. No mortgage calculator? Shame on you. Because we give them away for free. rsrlinks.com/mobile calculators, rsrlinks.com/calculators. It's over 70 financial calculators for our different tasks right there. What did rates do on Friday? That mixed bag, conventional 30-year fix, 6.253. That was down. Jumbo 30-year fix, 6.541. That was up. FHA 30-year fix, 6.056. That was down. VA 30-year fix, 5.841. That was down. And the USDA 30-year fix, 6.109. That was up. If you want our thoughts about the market each and every business day morning, as early as the data allows, go to the Ron Siegel Radio community, rsrlinks.com/HBOD, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. What are rates doing today? What are the markets doing today? S&P 500 flat, down 0.84. 10-year treasuries up 2.5 basis points, 4.33. And the mortgage bond, the 5.0 coupon is down 8 basis points. And, remember rates, the bond down, rates up. That's pretty flat, not causing a whole lot of activity. What's driving this? Well, oil prices, they're higher, up $1.75 a barrel. And we're thankful that no one was hurt again at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday. If you didn't see that, that was pretty riveting, at least for those of us that follow news a lot. Been reported that Iran has proposed a new peace plan to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but that it includes it deferring talks on nuclear enrichment. You know that's a non-starter.
You know better than that.
Iran's just trying to wait out the clock, and they're hoping that the president doesn't do anything based on what's going on here. Department of Justice dropped its probe into Jerome Powell and the Fed's renovation project, which opens the door for Kevin Warsh to now be confirmed as the Fed chair. Senator Tom Tillis said he would back Warsh now that the probe has been dropped, which means Warsh should be confirmed in time for the June Fed meeting. On Wednesday, Fed Chair Powell will be presiding as chair over his last meeting. Don't expect the Fed to do anything, and with Warsh incoming, Powell's comments won't mean much. So far, historically, in the last year or two, his comments have always been negative for the mortgage markets. We speculate that a deal was made behind the scenes where the probe into Powell was dropped for his cooperation to leave the Fed after his term as chair ends. Fannie and Freddie announced that they will now accept Vantage as an alternative to FICO, which I believe will be a good thing for the mortgage industry, but it's not going to happen for quite some time. The mortgage world is not ready for it. Ton of history on mortgage performance based on FICO scores, but none based on Vantage scores. For that reason, there could be a period where rates are higher on Vantage score loans as there is no risk history there. Additionally, accepting Vantage score must be built into the entire mortgage infrastructure, which could be costly and take time. Many may not choose to participate until it's more mainstream. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Now let's see, what do we got on tap right now? Mortgage 101. Mortgage 101 brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps, rsrlinks.com/keysteps. If you've ever handed your tax return to a loan officer and watched the smile slide right off their face, this one is for you. The bank looked at your net income, not your gross income, and then told you exactly what you were afraid to hear. You don't make enough. I'm Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. And today I want to talk about what I call the 1099 approval path. Here's the problem. If you're a realtor, an Uber driver, a DoorDash driver, a hairstylist, renting a chair, a cabinet installer, a wedding photographer, personal trainer, or anyone who gets paid on a 1099 instead of a W-2, you have a tax return that looks way one way on paper and a life that looks another way in real life. On paper, you write off your mileage, you wrote off your phone, you wrote off your home office, your equipment, your marketing, your software, every legal deduction your CPA could find. That is smart. That is what your CPA is paid to do. The problem is this: when you walk into a bank and apply for a mortgage, the bank does not look at the money you actually earn. The bank looks at what is left after all those write-offs. And that's the number they use to qualify you. So let me ask you a question. If you earned $200,000 last year on 1099s and your CPA brought your taxable income down to $65,000, which number do you actually live on? You live on the 200, but the bank is trying to qualify you on 65. That's why so many self-employed folks get told they cannot afford the home they are clearly already affording every single month. Here's the fix. It's called the 1099 approval path. Instead of looking at your tax return, we look at your 1099s. We add them up, all of them. If you drive for Uber and Lyft and DoorDash, we add all three. If you're a contractor with 3 general contractors sending you 1099s, we add all three. Whatever shows up on those forms, that is our starting number. Then instead of cutting your income in half like a bank statement loan does, we only take off 10% for expenses. 90 cents on every dollar counts toward qualifying you. Let me give you a real example. Say you had $200,000 come in on your 1099s last year. We take 90% of that, which is $180,000, divide by 12. That gives us $15,000 a month of qualifying income. Tap it into your phone or calculator. It's that simple. And here's the other piece. A bank statement loan asks for 12 months of bank statements, maybe 24. This program asks for 4 months, just 4. We use those 4 months to confirm the money is actually landing in your account, and then we are done. For example, we have an installer of countertops who works for 3 general contractors. Shows up in the morning, the materials are already there. He does the install and goes home. Each of those contractors sends him a 1099 at the end of the year because they don't want to pay employer taxes on him. A traditional bank looked at his tax return and told him no. We added up the 3 1099s, took 10% off the top, divided by 12, and he bought his home. Same guy, same income, different answer. Realtors, I want you to lean in on this for next part. You have up months and you have down months. That's the nature of the business. If you had a great November and a quiet February, we can use written verifications of employment and commission ledgers to smooth out the seasonal dips. We're not going to penalize you for a slow month when you had a record quarter. So what does this mean for you? It means if you have been sitting on the sidelines because a traditional lender told you the math does not work, the math probably works just fine. You just need a different set of eyes on your file and a program that was built for how self-employed people actually earn money. A few quick guardrails. You need a credit score of at least 620 to qualify. A 720 score opens up 90% financing. Loan amounts go up to $3.5 million. You need 12 months of self-employment history. And this works whether you are buying your dream home, buying your first home, buying your dream home, or buying a rental home. Remember, at Ron Siegel Radio, strategy beats rate always. The rate on the 1099 approval path is not going to be the rock bottom rate you see on a billboard, but the rock bottom rate on a billboard doesn't matter if you can't qualify for it. A loan you actually get is worth infinitely more than a rate you never see. If you are self-employed and someone has already told you no, or if you have been quietly afraid to even ask because you think you already know the answer, I want you to do one thing. Go to rsrlinks.com/second look. That's rsrlinks.com/2 look. We will take a second look at your file, your 1099s and your real income, and we'll give you an honest answer. No pressure, no pitch, just the math done correctly by a certified liability advisor who actually understands how self-employed income works. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to Mortgage 101, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, think you have to put 20% down? Most first-time home buyers don't. Switch from W-2 to 1099. You can buy a house today, not wait 2 years. And your tax write-offs are killing your loan approval. Here is the fix. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Think you have to put 20% down? Most first-time home buyers do not. According to Google Trends, online searches for down payment information recently hit an all-time high, and that's a clear sign more buyers are trying to figure out what they really need to say before making a move. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 FM 98.1 video feed, you are seeing a chart of searches for down payment information hitting an all-time high. If you're wondering the same thing, you can always turn to the internet for answers. But a lot of the time, it's better to ask a local expert, because here's what a pro would tell you. The idea that you need 20% down to buy a home is one of the biggest misconceptions around the home buying process, and the data debunks the myth. So you know what I'm going to tell you. While there are benefits to putting that much money down, most first-time buyers put down far less. Here's why. Unless it's stated by your lender, you typically don't have to have a 20% down payment. There are even some loan options designed to help you get into a home with a much smaller upfront cost. As the Mortgage Reports explains, quote, the amount you need to put down will depend on a variety of factors, including the loan type and your financial goals. If you don't have a large down payment saved up, don't worry. There are plenty of options available, and you don't need to put down the traditional 20%. Many home buyers are able to secure a home with as little as 3% or even no down payment at all. For example, FHA loans allow down payments as low as 3.5%, while VA and USDA loans offer zero down payment options for qualified applicants like veterans. And those options are just one reason so many first-time buyers are able to buy without 20% down. So if buyers aren't doing 20% down, how much do they actually put down? According to the National Association of Realtors, the median down payment for first-time home buyers is only 10%. Yes, only 10%. That's half of what you probably expected. And you can see that on the chart we've got on the screen right now. That means if you're aiming to save 20% because you have to, you may be setting a timeline that's longer than necessary. And here's some more good news. It's not only that you may be able to buy with less money down than you thought, but there are also options to help you get your down payment goal even faster. Why should you look into down payment assistance programs? There are a lot of them. There are a lot of programs designed to help you save for a down payment, and they can make a big difference in how fast you hit your savings target. Unfortunately, buyers don't realize how many there are and that they may qualify for help. Research for Realtor.com shows almost 80% of first-time home buyers qualify for down payment assistance, but only 13% actually use it. And that's another big miss holding would-be buyers like you back. In the U.S., there are over 2,600 home ownership programs available, many offering significant financial down payment support as down payment resource shares. Quote, with an average benefit of $18,000, down payment assistance remains one of the most essential tools for addressing the nation's affordability challenges. Programs continue to expand in scope, serving a broader range of incomes, property types, and borrower needs, including first-generation military and repeat buyers, unquote. Imagine how much further your savings could go with an extra $18,000 you can use to buy. In some cases, you may even be able to stack multiple programs, giving what you've saved an even bigger boost. Bottom line, the simple truth is most first-time buyers do not put 20% down. And if you've been waiting to buy until you have that saved, you may be setting a timeline that's longer than necessary. To find out what you really need to save and if you qualify for any help, give us a call, 800-306-1990. Go through our certified buyer program, rsrlinks.com/certified buyer, rsrlinks.com/certified buyer, and find out what you really qualify for. That's the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Mortgage 101 brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. Your employer just moved you from a W-2 to a 1099. Same job, same paycheck, different tax form, and now your lender is telling you to come back in 2 years before you can buy a house. That is wrong. And that bad information is costing people their homes. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Here's what's going on out there, and it is happening to all kinds of people. More and more employers are moving their W-2 workers over to 1099 contractor status. The reason? The employer doesn't want to pay matching Social Security. They don't want to pay benefits. They don't want to pay unemployment taxes. So they sit their employee down and say, hey, same job, same schedule, same paycheck, but starting Monday, we're going to call you a contractor. Same person, different paycheck. And here's where it gets messy. That employee walks into their bank to buy a house, and the loan officer pulls up their file and says, well, you're self-employed now. We need 2 years of tax returns. Come back in 2028. That is the old rule. That rule is built for a real self-employed person. Somebody who runs a business, somebody who has overhead, inventory, write-offs, real expenses. That is not what is happening here. This is an employee who had their tax form switched on them. They do not have overhead. They showed up to work. They use the employer's equipment. They do the same job they did last week. and they go home, nothing comes out of their pocket. So we built a loan for this exact situation. I call it a day one 1099 loan. Day one, not 2 years from now, not 12 months from now, day one. Let me walk you through what it looks like in real life. Take an anesthesiology tech last year. He moved from one hospital to another. At the old hospital, he was W-2. At the new hospital, he's 1099. He'd been on the new contract for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. His base income was $30,000 a month with mandatory overtime that pushed him close to $46,000. We did not even touch the overtime. We just used his base $30,000 a month and got him approved. 6 weeks on the job, and he bought his home. Here's why it works. Most 1099 loan programs take a big chunk of your income off the top and call it expenses. 50%, 10%, something. Because the assumption is you're a business, and a business has costs. The day one 1099 loan does not do that. If your contract says you have no out-of-pocket expenses, or we get a letter from your employer saying you have no out-of-pocket expenses, we count 100% of your income, all of it, just like we would if you were still on a W-2. Now listen, this is not just a medical field story. This is where we see it most often. Traveling nurses, physician's assistants, ER doctors, anesthesiologists, physical therapists, radiology techs. But this is happening everywhere. Tech workers, consultants, sales reps, truck drivers, warehouse managers, delivery supervisors, even office workers at small companies. If your employer decided to reclassify you as a 1099 contractor for tax reasons, and you're still showing up and doing the same work at the same place, this loan is built for you. You can qualify right now. And if you were W-2 before and you want to use the day one 1099 loan, we do pull one form of 4506 just to confirm your prior income lines up with what you're making now. That's the only extra step, and it is a simple one. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. The 2-year rule you are hearing from other lenders is not a law. It's an old assumption that does not fit your situation. You are the same person doing the same work, earning the same paycheck. You are just paying taxes differently now. That should not cost you a house. If that is, or if that is someone you love, your first stop is rsrlinks.com/keysteps. We will sit down on a Zoom, look at your situation, map out what the path looks like. And if you're already out shopping for homes and you want to walk in with a real strength behind you, go to rsrlinks.com/certified buyer. rsrlinks.com/certified buyer. And let's get you positioned to win. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Mortgage 101, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, waiting for rates to drop is costing you money every month, and your tax write-offs are killing your loan approval. We have the fix, all that and more. Reach me anytime, off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Mortgage 101 brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You've been told you don't qualify for a loan, but nobody told you they were looking at the wrong thing. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today, I want to talk about a loan product that has gone from a quiet little corner of the lending world to one of the fastest growing mortgage products in the country. It's called a DSCR loan. That stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. And if you own rental property or you want to, you need to understand what this is. Here's the short version. Most loans qualify you. They look at your W-2s, your tax returns, and your pay stubs, your debt to income ratio. If any of those numbers don't fit inside a very tight box, you don't get the loan, period. A DSCR loan qualifies the property, not you, the property. If the rent coming in covers the mortgage going out, you may qualify. That's it. No W-2 required, no tax returns required, no personal income verification. Now, why does this matter? Think about who gets left behind by traditional lending. Self-employed borrowers, small business owners, real estate investors who have written off a lot of income on their taxes. People who are great with money, building real wealth, managing cash flow, but their tax return makes them look broke on paper. I talk to people like this every single week. Smart people, successful people, people sitting on great properties that generate real income, and they've been told no by a bank because their W-2 doesn't match the payment. That's not a credit problem. That's a qualification method problem. And the DSCR loan solves that problem. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you want to buy a single family rental property. The market rent on that property is $2,400 a month. The mortgage payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is $2,000 a month. Your DSCR in that property is 1.2. The property earns 20% more than it costs. Most lenders will look at that and say yes. Now, here's what I want you to notice about that example. We never talked about your income. We never talked about your day job. We never talked about what's on your Schedule C. The property made the case for itself. Strategy beats rate always. And this is where I want to go a little deeper, because most people, when they hear about DSCR loans, they immediately ask about the rate. What's the rate? Is it higher than a conventional loan? And yes, typically DSCR loan rates run a little higher than a conventional investment property loan. We're talking roughly a half a point. Depending on your credit score, it might be a little more, a little less. And it depends on your down payment and the lender. But here's the question nobody asks. What is the cost of not having the loan? If a great property is sitting in front of you, generating real cash flow, and the only thing standing between you and that deal is a W-2 that you don't have, what is the opportunity costing you? That's the number that matters. Now let's talk about what you actually need to qualify. First, you need the property to cash flow. Most lenders want to see a DSCR of at least 1.0. That means the rent covers the full payment. Some lenders will go as low as 0.8. A few programs don't even require a ratio at all. They call it a no ratio DSCR. But the closer you are to 1.25 or better, the stronger your terms will be. Second, you need a down payment. Plan on 20 to 25% for most programs. Some lenders are now going down to 15%, but the sweet spot for the best terms, 20 to 25. Third, credit score. Most programs want to see a 680 or better. If you're at 720 or above, your options open up considerably. Fourth, the property type. Single-family rentals are the most common, but DSCR loans also work for duplexes, triplexes, quads, and in some cases up to 10-unit properties. Short-term rentals, Airbnb and VRBO properties can also qualify, though lenders may use a different income calculation for those. And fifth, and this one surprises people, you can close in an LLC. You don't have to take title in your personal name. That's a big deal for investors who care about liability protection and portfolio structure. Here's something else that most people miss. DSCR loans can close fast. We're talking 10 to 21 days in many cases. A conventional loan through a bank can take 45 to 60 days, and that's if everything goes perfectly. In a competitive investment market, speed matters. Being able to close in 3 weeks instead of 6 can be the difference between getting the deal and losing it. Now, I want to bring this back to strategy because this is what I do differently. A DSCR loan is not just a product, it is a tool. And like any tool, what matters is how you use it. Too many investors grab this loan, close the deal, and never think about it again. They're focused on the rate, not thinking about how this loan fits into their overall financial picture. What I look at is your household blended interest rate. That's the average cost of all the debt you're carrying, your primary mortgage, your rental loans, your car payments, your credit cards. Every new loan that you take on either raises or lowers that blended rate. A DSCR loan on a cash flowing property can actually improve your overall financial position, not just add to your debt load. That's what strategic debt management looks like in the real world. I also want to say this clearly. DSCR loans are not for everyone. They are not a first-time buyer product. They are specifically for investment properties. You cannot use a DSCR loan to buy a home you plan to live in. And just because you can qualify doesn't always mean you should. The suitability question matters as much as the eligibility question. That's the difference between a loan officer and a certified liability advisor. If you are a real estate investor, or you want to be, and you've been told that your tax returns or your income don't qualify you for conventional financing, I want to have a conversation with you. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. Take the first step. Let's look at your full picture together and figure out if a DSCR loan belongs in your strategy. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to Mortgage 101, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. I think we have time. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by gethomeselect.com. Gethomeselect.com. You've probably noticed that things cost more than they used to, a lot more. And if you've been waiting for interest rates to come down before you make a move, you might be waiting longer than you think. I am Ron Siegel, certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today, I want to talk about what's actually happening in the economy right now, because there are a few things going on that affect your household budget directly. Not Wall Street, not big corporations, your house, your car, your debt. Let's walk through it. The Federal Reserve is in a holding pattern. Here's where we are with interest rates. The Federal Reserve has a new nominee to take over his chair. His name is Kevin Warsh, and he has signaled that he'd like to cut rates. That sounds great, right? Not so fast. The confirmation process has been moving forward. The roadblock that had been holding things up has cleared, and Warsh looks to be on his way to getting confirmed. But here's the thing. Getting confirmed and actually cutting rates are two very different things. Even with Warsh in the chair, inflation is still running above the Fed's 2% target. It has been above that target for 6 years. And the bond market, which is where mortgage rates actually come from, has not been cooperating. Long-term yields have gone up, not down, since the Fed started cutting rates back in the fall of 2024. So what does that mean for you? It means the people who told you to wait for rates to drop may have been giving you advice that doesn't hold up when you look at the full picture. A new Fed chair doesn't automatically mean low rates. Warsh still has to convince his colleagues, and he still has to convince the bond market. And neither one of those is a quick conversation. Your car is costing you more than you think. Let's talk about something a little closer to home. Used car prices. If you've been thinking about buying a used car, here's some good news. Prices should start to come down later this year. Here's why. Wholesalers bid up prices this winter, expecting big tax refunds to drive strong demand. The refunds came in smaller than expected. Demand softened, and now there's some pressure building to bring prices back down. Used electric vehicles are up about 8% this spring. Used hybrids are staying strong because people love the idea of fuel efficiency without fully committing to electric. Why does this matter for your household? Because a lot of families are financing vehicle purchases right now, and they're doing it at higher interest rates. The rate on that car loan is number one. But the real question is, what is your household blended interest rate across all your debt? That's the number that actually tells the story. If you've got a car loan at 8 or 9%, credit cards at 20% or more, and a mortgage somewhere in the middle, the blended rate on all of that is what's hitting your household budget every single month. And that's what we work on. The cost of getting things there. Here's one people don't think about until they see it on a price tag. Trucking costs have gone up significantly this year. Spot rates for dry van loads are up 30 cents a mile. Refrigerated loads up 25 cents. Flatbed up 70 cents a mile. What does trucking have to do with your family finances? Everything. When it costs more to move goods across the country, those costs get passed to the stores and then to you. It's one of the reasons prices stay sticky even when it feels like things should be getting better. It's also one of the reasons inflation isn't going away as fast as anyone hoped. This is not doom and gloom. This is just how a connected economy works, and understanding it helps you make smarter decisions about your money. So what do you do with all of this? Here's the practical takeaway. The economy right now is not giving anyone a clear green light. The Fed is stuck. Price is still elevated, and waiting for perfect conditions is a strategy that tends to cost people more than it saves them. What you can control is your own household balance sheet. What's your blended interest rate on all of your debt? What does your cash flow actually look like? Are you positioned to weather another 6 to 12 months of this environment without taking on more high interest debt? That is the conversation I have with families every single week. Not just about mortgage rates, but about the full picture of what's coming in and what's going out, and how to position your debt so that strategy is working for you, not against you. If you've been thinking about refinancing, or you've been told, wait, I'd encourage you to take a second look. Not because rates are perfect right now, because your situation may be better than you think, and a well-structured refinance can improve your cash flow, even in an imperfect rate environment. Go to rsrlinks.com/2step. That's rsrlinks.com/2step. You can learn about our two-step equity strategy and see if it makes sense for your household, or you can call us directly at 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990, because when the economy is sending signals, the smart move is to listen and then act on what you can actually control. Strategy beats rate always. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment, brought to you by GetHomeselect.com, GetHomeselect.com. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.